In this video, I'm going to be sharing my experience so far with the all-new DualSense Edge Pro controller for the PS5. Because since I've had a bit more time to fully test this controller and use it on a daily basis, I feel like I now have a pretty solid opinion on what I really think about the DualSense Edge and whether or not this controller is actually worth the $200 price tag. So do not buy the DualSense Edge for PS5 just yet, because today is going to be all about the pros and cons for Sony's latest controller. Now, starting off with the things I like most, number one is that the DualSense Edge comes included with a controller storage case with enough room for all the included accessories and even a special way to charge the controller while it's in the case. Whereas other Pro controllers in the exact same price range are simply offering the controller alone, and a carrying case would be an additional cost. Now, you could argue that the DualSense Edge would have been more affordable had the case not been included, but then the question is, where do you keep all these small bits and pieces without the risk of losing them? So in my opinion, the simple inclusion of the carrying case has become one of my favorite things about the DualSense Edge. Now, the next thing is a pretty obvious one, but that is the replaceable thumbstick modules. The good thing about this design is that if one of your thumbsticks either wears out or gets stick drift, you can easily replace the module itself without having to purchase a whole new controller. I'm also really liking the design of the DualSense Edge back buttons, specifically the trigger style attachments, which have quickly become my favorite design on any recent Pro controller thus far. Another big win for the DualSense Edge is that since this is an official PlayStation product, you get all the software features built into the PS5 user interface without the need to use a separate computer to make these adjustments. Now, the final thing that I've been really liking about the DualSense Edge so far has been the build quality. This thing is way beyond anything else in terms of how the controller feels in your hands and just how refined the DualSense Edge actually is. I gotta say, this might be the only Pro controller I've ever used that actually feels like a $200 controller. But with all that being said, here are the top things that I dislike about the PS5 DualSense Edge. The battery life on this controller is simply not good when compared to the standard PS5 DualSense, mainly because in order to fit this many features within the same design, the DualSense Edge is fitted with a battery pack that is 33% smaller than the standard DualSense, which means the average battery life is anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. I've also found that many of the DualSense Edge software features like trigger dead zones and stick sensitivity curves are simply not useful on a daily basis and come off more as gimmicks than anything else. Of course, it really depends on what games you play, but I've never really found myself needing to adjust these settings at any point whatsoever. That's not to say you won't find them useful, but the average player will most likely just remap the back buttons, assign some custom profiles, and call it a day. Everything else, at least in my case, has gone pretty much unused. But overall, there's a lot more to like about the DualSense Edge than there is to dislike, and those are really the only things I could come up with as far as minor gripes about the controller so far. As always, make sure to leave a like rating if you enjoyed, comment below to let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for post notifications. Also, guys,